The difference between, I would say, growing faster and going further, even if you've achieved a certain level of success, is going to be with a coach. You're going to need a coach at every level of success. A coach is someone who knows something that you don't, that can help you get to where you're trying to go further, faster. And there are coaches for every step of your business. If you have achieved a level of success and you've gotten to a certain point in your business, you learned a lot along the way. And there's going to be someone else that's trying to get where you are, that's now saying, how did you do that? Well, guess what? You can now coach them to where you are. That's not saying you know everything, but you can say, I can help you get to this point.
So welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so glad to start today's episode. Welcome. I have such a wonderful guest today. I am so glad to have you here with us. So I want to introduce you and give you an opportunity to share with our audience who you are, what you do, and then we're going to get into it and dive in. So today, welcome, Miss Crystal Garcia.
Yes, thank you so much, Denise. I am so honored to be here as on the MOMpreneur Entrepreneur Podcast. Oh my goodness, like you do so much to serve this particular audience of women, and so I'm grateful. My name is Crystal Garcia, and how I help high-performing women basically break out of boardrooms and build their own table. I have a full-service agency that's here to serve from start to scratch, from building and branding your business. And so that's what I do. And I have been one of those women in corporate America with those seats at the boardrooms who felt like I had a bigger purpose, even though I was, for all intents and purposes, being successful, right?
Right.
And successful can be is an interesting term depending on what it is, because I always find that when you're successful in one area, someplace else might be slacking. And so being in the boardroom, but feeling like I was missing those moments of motherhood, right? Which is why I'm a mompreneur. And so just being able to step out in faith, and then also with practical tools to make sure that I was doing it properly into full-time entrepreneurship, that's what I help other women do, because I was once one of those women feeling like I needed to break out of the boardroom and build my own business, because that's what God had put in me. And so now I help women like that birth theirs.
Awesome. And a superstar at that, might I add. And on top of that, just like a brilliant mother, such a loving, caring. I love the relationship that you have with your kids. And hey, so that's your superpowers, to be able to do it both. Like we're always winning when we can find a way to manage all of those different hats that we wear. So having said that, the whole platform that we work with here is working with mom entrepreneurs who are struggling. They're frustrated, they're overwhelmed, but we want to get them to a point where they can know that, hey, success is right on the other side of that tunnel. The light's there, just keep following the light, right? So what I want to ask you is, here we go. What are 3 success tips or strategies that you would recommend for mom entrepreneurs to get past the overwhelm and to get towards success? What are those 3 things that, man, if I knew then these 3 things, I could have really gotten further so much faster? What can you do? What can you tell them? What inspiration can you bring to them on that note?
All right, this is a tall order because there's a lot, but I would say automate quickly. I'm going to start there. Do you want me to tell you all 3 first and then we expand upon them, or do you want me to tell you and?
Yeah, it's your format. This is you.
Okay. So just briefly, I would say automate quickly. And the reason that is, I think that sometimes initially you might think, well, I'm just starting out. What do I have to automate? automate anything that you have to do repeatedly. If you are selling food and people are constantly saying, hey, like, can you send me a menu and, whatnot, automate what that looks like, because you need to spend as much time serving in what I like to call your zone of genius as much as possible. And so automate quickly. Anything you find yourself repeating, a task that you do repeatedly, automate. Awesome. That's number one. Brilliant. Number two, develop standard operating procedures. You are now a business. You are a corporation. You registered yourself as an LLC, most likely. Okay? So you are now a corporation. You need to run your business as one, and you need to have standard operating procedures. The Bible says we need to have that foundation. And the Bible says you need to write the plan and make it clear. Writing your plan and making it clear goes beyond your business plan. Which, by the way, did you do that before you went and got your domain and registered your LLC? Or did you get the domain and start your business and still hadn't registered your LLC? See how all this foundation stuff is kind of broken up? Okay, sorry. I digress. See, this is what disease, because I know you now. This isn't just like me being on this suggestion being all proper. Like I'm being real, right? So I'm going to be real with your audience the same way that you and I would talk about this. But not you, but how we would talk to amongst ourselves. Like, hey, this is the stuff that people really need to know. Exactly. So standard operating procedures are part of building that foundation. And you might think to yourself, well, I'm a social media manager. I don't need standard operating procedures for my business. Yes, you do. Anytime you have outsourced anything or there's something that you need to do for your business, if you are feeling that overwhelm, I'm going to use your word because you said, how do we help get them out of overwhelm? It is, again, those things you do repeatedly. Anytime you have to send information out to people because you need to bring in a service, whether it is graphic design, market, like whatever it is, right? It doesn't matter what your business is. You could be a coach, you could be a social media manager, you could be a hairstylist, whatever it is. When you're feeling overwhelmed because you need help, but you feel like you can't stop because you have to give direction to people or you don't have it documented, or you're having to do that repeatedly, you need to have standard operating procedures for your business. For example, when you establish your branding, things like your logo, your fonts, your colors, that's a standard operating procedure. You are letting the world know that when it comes to marketing my brand, this is what we use. If I am going to be a guest on someone's podcast and I'm going to send you my logos, my fonts, my things, this is how you handle my business. This is how I handle my business. This is part of my brand. That is a simple standard operating procedure. I share that because if you're feeling to yourself when I say that, if it's triggering something to be like, oh, that sounds like a lot. Okay, well, if you've already done that, you've already established one portion of your standard operating procedures. What else needs to be standardized? Because in order for you to grow, you have to be able to get to a point where you can hand off things, but you will always feel overwhelmed and that like no one else can do it and help you and serve you if you're not able to give them the instructions. And the instructions should be simple, which are in the form of standard operating procedures. And don't let that word overwhelm you where you're like, oh my gosh, I must have this book that is like this HR tool that must be so formalized about my business. No, ma'am. No, sir. That's not what we do. Okay? Standard operating procedures can be very simple. And if you get stuck on the typing them out and writing them and you're like, oh, what do I do next? Do what you and I are doing right now. Hop on Zoom, talk, speak, put it out there into Zoom land and hit record what those steps are. Zoom has a very simple function that allows you to transcribe the content. Extract that and start from there. It's a lot easier and faster so that you can spend your time where you can create the most value, editing that, inserting the things that you think maybe you had missed, and then there you are. And so now you have these two things in your toolbox.
Exactly.
The third thing I would say, because you asked me for 3, is invest in a coach.
Yeah.
The difference between, I would say, growing faster and going further, even if you've achieved a certain level of success, it's going to be with a coach. You're going to need a coach at every level of success. And you don't have to necessarily start off your business and invest in a $60,000 a year coach, right? That's not necessarily where you have to start. But a coach is someone who knows something that you don't, that can help you get to where you're trying to go further, faster. And there are coaches for every step of your business. If you have achieved a level of success and you've gotten to a certain point in your business, you learned a lot along the way. And there's going to be someone else that's trying to get where you are, that's now saying, how did you do that? Well, guess what? You can now coach them to where you are. That's not saying you know everything. Right. But you can say, I can help you get to this point. And that may not be a $55,000 investment. That might be a $5,000 investment. But guess what? The time and even the cost of not investing in a coach would actually hinder you even more greatly, because by the time you spend $500 trying to find 3 or 4 different people on Fiverr to do different things and they didn't do it right, by the time you tried to do it yourself, by the time you invested in software that you thought was what you needed, but you couldn't get it to work, and then you found something else, the next thing you know, you've got 7 subscriptions, half of them all do the same thing, none of them are even what you're using, you forgot to unsubscribe from them, so you're getting billed from them every month, and you're paying for them regardless. Before 9 months later, you realize you finally find the right tool that was really best for your business, and you've spent $39.99 a month, $9.99 a month, $17.99 a month, $24.99 a month, etc., times 9 months, and added that up, and you said, I didn't have $5,000 for a coach. Oh, yes, you did. Yeah. Right?
You just spent it somewhere else.
Coach. However, but this goes twofold, because I know people who were starting their businesses and actually had a decent amount of capital and resources. And they did invest in a coach, and they did invest in a maybe a more expensive coach who was very, very informative, gave them tons of information and value, but they still didn't implement. And it wasn't the coach's fault, because the coach's content was fabulous. What the coach said was fabulous. I was like, oh yeah, I was like, that's right. I might be able to use that for my business. That's good. But that's not where they were. So it created overwhelm for them, because even though this coach was great, they needed someone who could literally hold their hand in the beginning. And many of us know there are some coaches that are really great at the startup, and that's who they want to serve. There are other coaches that say, you come to me once you've established this, and the other, and I can help you get to the next level. Right. So when looking for a coach, you need to make sure that you are doing the research to find the right fit coach, because every coach is not for everyone in every season. But you will need a coach in every season.
Awesome.
So those are my 3 big things.
I'm sure that was fantastic. Like, that's it right there. Like that's so real and so vital for so many people to understand and to get, because you said there were 2 points that you brought up, not just to get you there faster, but also to get you further. And those 2 things, that is so important. And I love that you brought up, I always talk about automation and talking about figuring out how to get those SOPs in place. And the automation piece, yeah, I think that a lot of people kind of put that to the side. They're like, oh, well, I'm just starting. Oh, I only have 1 product. Oh, well, I only sell t-shirts. Why do I need this? And when you think about how many people you are contacting on a regular basis, how many, if you just think about all of the things that you are going to do more than once, if you're going to do it more than once, period, yes, go ahead and automate it. Let it happen without you having to do it every time. That's number one, so that you can focus your efforts into being that CEO, into running that business, and not doing these same repetitive things over and over again, right?
Yeah.
And the next thing, the SOPs, I think that people, like, they really put that on the back burner and they don't realize how important that is as well. And then, finding that simple way of doing it, using Zoom, using Loom, find some way to, or even transcribe it directly using Google or Microsoft Word. Just find some way. You don't have to type that up yourself. You don't have to figure it out. Just literally go through the motions. I highly recommend videoing it. That way you could, like, even if you use Zoom and you could do a screen share and show what you are doing as you're doing the process, as well as saying it verbally, because now you have it written, but you also have where the person can see what you're doing. And it really streamlines your business so much. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Man, and then the coaching. Again, you bring such a valid point that at every season, like, I think about myself, my own experience. My first coach wasn't even a business coach. It was somebody who helped. Well, actually, technically he is, but it was on the lines of talking about mindset, because that was so important in the business, from starting the business and being able to make that shift from being an employee to now being an employer, and figuring out how that works, and making sure that there's some things that we environment or experience or exposure that have kind of like embedded in our heads that don't really transfer to entrepreneurship or business ownership, and really being able to tackle those from the beginning. And again, it was like $67 a month. It wasn't a $20,000 thing. It was a really basic mindset kind of a strategy. And that was, and at every level, you're going to have somebody who's going to be ahead of you, who can help you get to the next level. And like you said, faster and further. So that was awesome. I love it. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yes.
You're welcome. And you just said something really powerful, because the only thing that you said mindset, and how you invest in the mindset coach, because, one of the things, if you had said 5 things, one of those, a fourth element I would have shared would have been your belief system. So which would be the mindset.
Yes.
Because we're all human. There's that adage that says we all put our pants on the same, one leg at a time, unless you have a toddler, because then that can be questionable. That's
right, exactly. They might put 2 legs in one, in one pant leg.
Yes, the pants might go on your head instead of on your legs. There could be, we have those different adages about, basically that we're all the same. And that's the thing. People are people. People are people first. People do business with people. You are a person. And we all have different beliefs, and we all have and doubts, right? And so, you might be like, man, I am a rock star out there on that basketball court, right? And even if you're a girl, okay,
that's right. Especially,
that's not necessarily a male thing, but or I am can nobody sleep on my meatloaf? And I'm just saying that for myself. Yes, I might be vegan now, but I can throw down on a meatloaf, okay? That was literally, truly a dying man's last wish. The last thing he had was my meatloaf, and it wasn't what killed him, okay? It was what he wanted because he couldn't eat, okay? So,
nice.
But whatever that, have the same belief that you have in yourself about that, like, girl, yes, you have to have that same level of hype and confidence about yourself in your business, even on a bad day. And especially on a bad day. And when you're building a business, you're going to have some wins, but you're going to have a lot of days where it's just chilling, or it may not have been a slam dunk, right? you're going to have those days that it's going to be like you eating leftovers. And you're like,
Right.
dang, God, eating leftovers again. I'm still eating leftovers again. I'm still on ramen noodles again. And you're going to have those days where it was man, my bomb meat, I burnt my meatloaf because I got distracted. You're going to have those same types of days with your business. But then you're going to have those days where you were having that dinner party, that business meeting, aka that business meeting, and it's going to go fabulously, and you served up that meatloaf and they were mouth watering for more, right? You have to be ready for every part of that. And mindset is so important because we're human. Because on those days when you're tired of eating leftovers, on those days where that meatloaf got burnt, which are those days that your business is stagnant, where you're like, gosh, I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to do. I'm posting 3 times a week. I'm posting 12 stories a day on social media. I sent out my email content once a week. I'm showing up on live. I'm being a guest on podcasts. I'm going out here commenting and trying to leverage other people's audiences and trying to connect with people that are, I've done it all, God. But my business still isn't growing. I haven't gotten one new client in the last 7 months.
Right.
I'm not even going to say like 7 weeks, 7 days. Let's be real. It's entrepreneurship. It might be 7 months. And you're like, I haven't seen one new client, God, but I'm out here believing you for this. Now, that last client was good and it sustained me for a minute, but it's starting to get a little tight. You know, what's going on? And then there's going to be those days where you might have, like, this client is signing up. Man, it's a home. Yes, this client is saying, yes, I'm coming. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And next thing you know, they ghost. Next thing you know, they change their mind. Next thing you know, guess what? They're an entrepreneur too, and they had something that impacted their business. And now they're like, I've got to make some tough decisions, and I really want to invest in yours. But at the moment, I have to prioritize something else. And I'm going to come back later when I get back to this point, right? You have to be ready for those. That's the burnt meatloaf day, because then you feel burnt. You're like, oh, what happened, right? And so I say all of that to say that believing in yourself, you have to believe in yourself in your business the same way you believe in yourself in whatever it is that makes you feel like you are the baddest mama, jamma, mama, mommypreneur, entrepreneur, successpreneur, whatever it is. You got to have that same belief in your business, because you're going to have to hold on to it on the bad days and in those long seasons. Because there will come a time in your business you will have that season, and during that season you can't shut down. You have to continue to sow, because if you don't sow, you cannot grow. So you just have to be ready for that. So that mindset that you just talked about, girlfriend, listen, belief. That would have been number 4 if you had asked me, but I just threw it in there.
Well, thank you. We appreciate it. Any little extra salt, that's good. Awesome. Thank you so much. I am so grateful for your time. I am so grateful for your expertise. Anything that you have going on that you want to share with us, or anything you want to share with the audience as far as what you do? Come on, this is your time to promote what you got going on.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, here's what I'll say. If you are in that season of overwhelm and you have not already went and got you some coaching from Miss MOMpreneur Success Academy coach extraordinaire over here, okay, then listen, go do that. But what I will say is that sometimes there's a link between your coach and your implementation. And sometimes you need a little bit more hand holding. You might need a little bit of help to implement. That's where I come in, because our agency is able to connect you with the right resources at the right time that are going to be the right fit for you where you are in order to get that done. So your coach gave you a great strategy. You're all in, you're working on it, but you might need some help in implementing that. You might need, everyone wants resources, trusted resources, teams that I can go to. You don't want to necessarily go to freelance websites where you're uncertain, where there are some fabulous people, but at the same time, sometimes there might be a barrier or some sort of gap between you translating your vision and them actually getting that from you, and you're like, oh, but who do I, and how do I get the right people, the right thing? Like I've done this 2 or 3 times, and my logo, I like it, but I don't love it because my vision just never came to life. We are here. Our agency is able to bring those things together to help propel your business and brand. So that's where we come in. So we are a complement to your coach, regardless of what season you are in your life. We have that right fit. So that's what I would say. That's what we do here at Propelcon.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So again, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, expertise, and all of the little extra you threw in there. So thank you for being with us. I look forward to having you on again. If there's any way we can help, how can people reach you? How can they follow you and get in contact with you?
Yes, please. You can contact me at www.propelcon.com. That's PROPELCON.com. And you can also follow me on @Propelcon on all social media platforms. So we are here to help propel you through consulting, connection, all those connections I told you about, and then also conference management services. And that's a whole nother conversation for another day on propelling your business that we can always talk about. But that's how you can reach me. And I look forward to it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Have a great day, and we'll speak to you soon. Bye.
Bye.